Okay guys, so I wanted to share something from last night, but my phone wasn't working. I have a piece of paper at home. I had gone after church last night to a meeting, first time at the church, right? And I went to my ride. I had a ride with someone and they're like, do you mind if we stay at the meeting? And I'm like, no, not at all. And there was another meeting after the first service and I said, yeah, I'll help out. They need some help with something. So, that's just being neighborly, right? So, I go to this meeting, and if you want membership, this piece of paper said you have to, no, not membership, sorry. If you wanted to become a member and teach kids, you have to refrain from alcohol. You have to abstain from it completely. And I'm like, oh my goodness, right? Don't fall into a legalistic church, guys. I just did a video on how important it is to be in church so you can grow, but you want to be very particular of what kind of church you're in. So I challenged the pastor in front of the whole class and said, hey, I'm going to challenge you a little bit, and we have Christian liberty in our walk with God, right? So I said, I waitress, and a lot of times I have to serve alcohol, and I have to taste wines, right? I said, does that make me not able to teach? And he goes, yeah, you can't teach, because if you're going to drink any alcohol, you cannot teach. And I'm like, so he gave me this long explanation of, in his house, he said, his church, you can't be drinking at all. Not that he would know. I mean, how would he know if I did it, right? So I said, I'm going to challenge you further. I said, Jesus drank wine. And he's like, well, the wine was diluted back then. He goes, Proverbs says alcohol's a mocker. So that same alcohol he's talking about in Proverbs, that's a mocker, was the same dilution that Jesus had when he drank wine, right? So, I mean, we're talking, I think, pretty much the same time frame, right? Back in the, Bible times. So I left the church quietly, and he's like, we can talk about it more if you want. He goes, but this is our philosophy. And basically, I had someone come up to me after, and he was talking about how he didn't even drink soda when he was in basketball because they were very conditioned. I get that if you're in basketball, but this is not his church. It's God's church. And for someone to take your freedom away as a Christian, it's not okay. When I was at one of my relatives, they're like, in this house, we drink. And he's like, in this house, we don't drink. So wherever you are, you have your liberties to do as you please, right? It doesn't have to be like, I'm not drinking at the church, right? So I had someone say, well, someone came up to me after and said, are you the woman in the back who asked about alcohol? I said, yes, I am. And she goes, I wanted to talk to you about that. And I said, okay. And she said, so I've counseled a lot of people who have been alcoholics, and we don't want to make our brother stumble. And then I had someone else say to me, we don't want to make another person stumble. And I said, that person has responsibility for themselves, whether they are going to stumble or not. I said, if I'm working in a restaurant and I don't look cool and I'm not, tasting wine so that I can sell it to customers, I said, that is not going to be a good witness when I'm in a restaurant, because they're like, well, we don't want to make a brother stumble. Well, you're making others stumble.